It was a show that I was in. I was very early on in my career. I mean, we had these sheep in the show that were, made out of wood, and the dogs would come up and sort of sniff the asses of the sheep, and right in the middle of the show. The show that changed my life was a play called Annie and the Old One. It was written by Thompson Highway, and it was an adaptation of a story written by Patricia Miles Martin. It was a show that I was in. I was very early on in my career. I had just left a teaching position at the Claude Watson School for the Arts. I don't know why they hired me when I was 20 something, but it was awesome. So I started really as an artist educator, and then I got cast in a Cascade Theatre Company tour. Cascade Theatre was a children's theatre company run by Jerry Silverberg, and Jerry Franken directed the show. One of my really sort of first professional experiences, and we were about to head out on a 6-month tour. Primarily we're touring in gyms and doing school tour type things. And then we landed in Sudbury, and we went to the high school, and there was a really good drama program at the Sudbury High School at the time. So the instructor there had one of the students do a lighting plot, and we had a full stage, and we had, all the support from the student body. It was incredible, and a great audience. And the show just sort of blossomed. It just took on this whole other beautiful level. And we got back in the van and we said, yeah, that's what theater is. Like, those are the kind of places we should be performing this show in all the time, right? We need lights, and we need all this stuff, and we need, that's what really connects us with the audience. And then we drove to the Serpent River First Nations right after that. And we arrived in Serpent River, and this isn't, a reserve that at the time, because this is in the 80s, in the early 80s, and it's a time where Serpent River had no big community center. They had no real great big gathering space, and 3/4 of the reserve had never seen a play. The biggest building on the reserve to accommodate us was the fire hall. So they cleared out the fire hall. Like, they took all the trucks out, they put them all outside, and there was this big thing, a splotch of oil right in the middle of what would be our playing space. And they were like, oh, well, we'll try to clean that up. And then they sprinkled sawdust over it, and they're like, okay, is that good enough? And we had just come from Sudbury, where we were like, yeah, we need lights and all this stuff, right? So I remember us all sort of talking about how complex and complicated this environment was for us, and how it was just exact opposite of what we had experienced. And then we did the show. They bussed in every single elder from the long-term care facility. They brought in everybody from the community. In this fire hall were all the elders. There was so many kids. There was dogs. There was, it was packed full of the whole entire community. I mean, we had these sheep in the show that were, made out of wood, and the dogs would come up and sort of sniff the asses of the sheep, and right in the middle of the show. And then afterwards, after the show, the community held this huge feast for us, and they honored us with a feast. And they were so appreciative that we had taken the time to come to the community to present this show for them. And we sat in such a humble place, realizing that what we had just said a day before had no relevance at all in terms of the power of theater. And it really profoundly changed at a very early age in my career, in a very early intersection with the industry, my realization of what theater really was and what it could accomplish. Do I love theaters with lights and set? Oh, yes, I do, especially as a director, right? To help, create the environment. But I'm also clear that, if you're touring reserves or you're touring communities around the world that have no access to those things, the joy and the power of just of building that relationship is the most core important thing.